Welcome to Rules of Villainy, episode 71, where three new trading card game players question challenge their way to the competitive top tables and discuss their opinions on Disney Lorcana. This evening, we'll be reporting on the hottest news in Lorcana, answering your questions, and discussing the latest developments in the metagame. I'm Villain Vince, joined as always by my two co-hosts, Villainy Andy, and the mayor of Lorcana himself, Brad. How's it going?
Do we tell him, Brad? Do we tell him?
Sure.
He'll have to start all over again. Vince,
What is
just
it?
just say 72 a couple times for me, and I'll edit it in over top of where you said episode 71.
If you listened last week, then you're ahead of the game. But
Confused right now.
yeah,
Well, I was confused, but yeah, it is episode 72. You know what? We're just going to leave it in and leave it. It's going to, or Andy can take this 72 and it'll just
There we go.
be episode 72. It'll be like one of those really things. It's like, welcome to Rules of Villainy, episode 72.
Oh, yeah. I can put that AI like robot voice over it.
yeah.
You know, it's funny. Honestly, I was like, what did I do wrong this time? But
I thought it was
know,
the chipmunk thing. The network thing that we hear was like you going really fast, but we know that it's actually in real time when this is all about inside baseball for the listeners.
I know
what we go
really
through.
behind the scenes.
Can't put
Join the
baseball
Patreon,
inside, Brad. You'll break something.
I will.
I was thinking though, as I was reading it, that I always say this evening when like we're a live show, you know, like folks are always like, you know, this podcast goes out like 11 o'clock or like, you know, maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. And so they're hearing it.
It's always after 10 o'clock on a Wednesday night. So
well,
when we record it, so.
Doesn't even have an evening airtime. So
do you like my new mug?
it's a cat.
It's cute.
It's cute.
It's a cat. It's a cute little.
Looks like it's straight from Target.
It is straight from Target.
I believe it.
I saw this. It was the only one on the shelf the other day, and I was like, I'm gonna buy it in case they don't have it. I went back there tonight, and they had a whole shelf full of them still. And I was like, well, hey, at least I got it, so it's totally fine.
I only get calico cat things because if you ever look down the cat food aisle, all the cat models, none of them are calicos. I think cat food brands dislike my multicolored baby.
Oh, well, you know, I just have a beef for the fact that dogs get way more stuff than cats.
That is true.
I would.
Whoa.
Hey, listen here.
I
can
impeach the mayor.
Example right now. There's a dog's Lorcana deck. There's not a cat's one.
I've seen it before. You know it's pretty good.
I gotta say though, the cats in Lorcana are pretty cute.
They are cute for
and
sure.
some of them are devious.
Indeed.
Best cat, Figaro.
Maybe.
No arguments.
Maybe.
Okay, I'm just gonna make a statement. You guys are gonna nod. Okay. So it has been said.
That scar mask in your background is creeping me out a little bit.
Do you like that it's on the wall now and not just sitting on the back of my
I feel like it's looking at me. I don't know. But yeah, so we're now in week 3? Going into week 3?
Going into week 3, yep.
This will be the end of week 2, right?
Yes, sir.
That you're hearing this in the evening, ideally, so that the intro lines up.
Yeah.
Well, no, this would be we go into the end of week 3. So we're recording this on Wednesday because we had release. Oh, I guess release. Then we had Big Box. Was Big Box Friday?
Yeah.
Or before last Friday?
Yeah, it was this past weekend.
Yeah, the week 1 started the Monday after release in LGS.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, you're right. So we'll be completing. Yeah,
was the first Monday after.
Time is weird, man. Time is crazy.
Remember when I said it's after 10 o'clock when we record? That's when my brain checks out from math. You know, like how many days have we been in this deep in Whispers in the Well?
Did you find a lot of product yet on the shelves? In the big box stores?
Yeah,
funny.
Everywhere I go, they have it so far.
Yeah, I bought some
one
packs
of you guys
tonight.
Buy it all up.
Ooh, and
I bought some packs.
For anyone listening,
bought some troves.
Anyone listening, if you're a scalper and you're listening, turn the episode off for fast forward. But for all of you guys that like actually ripping open your packs, Target, I don't believe, has put Whispers in the Well packs into their 2-pack per person limit. So, make sure you save some for everyone else. But when there's like 500 Whispers blisters on the wall at Target and you're only allowed to buy 2 of them and they sit there, I mean, there's still Inklands blisters on my Target. Nobody's buying them. I'm glad they let me.
Are there really still Inklands boosters in your Target?
I see Inklands quite a bit. So
Ursula's Inkland is less common now, but Ursula's Return, there's tons. Azurite, no Shimmering Skies because I bought them all 2 at a time because of their silly limit. They've been there forever. I can understand it for those more commonly scalped products, but so go check out your local Target.
My Target has a boatload of Azurite Sea Troves.
Mm-hmm.
So,
did your Target also get the Mickey Mouse box? It was
the Costco exclusive originally.
Yeah, yep. If you didn't get a chance to grab one of them at Costco, check your local Target. They might have a couple of those, and make sure
you might have to go into like the toys section
in the back
where you need them back. So yeah. I also, not Lorcana related, but I did play Magic for the first time ever on Thursday.
What?
Crazy. Avatar?
Oh my God.
I really like Avatar.
Avatar. I do.
Avatar.
I really like Avatar quite a bit. And, it's like, basically it is to what Brad with Final Fantasy, because he bought that. And you got a whole like master set, right? Is that of the cards?
There's still 2 that I haven't splurged on yet, but they're like $10 cards. I just haven't actually completed it. But
whoa, what a splurge, man!
But not like all tarts. You just have one of every.
Yeah. Just the base set. I'm trying to get one of foil if I can on those, and then the alt art that I like. But yeah, I bought so much Final Fantasy, but I never actually played it. How did you enjoy it?
So here's what I'll say is that I think the game is good. Like, it's been around forever.
Hope so.
And
it's been around this long, it's gotta be, right?
I will say I like Lorcana better. Like, kind of no question about it. Of course, I'm biased about it, but I'll give a few examples here. One is I think the ink system is superior to the land system.
Yeah, for sure.
I've been seeing a lot of people on Twitter complain. Even Knives Nerd Corner made a tweet the other day about the land system just being absolutely terrible, and I didn't understand what he meant by it. But you saying that now is like,
let's be fair, guys. So, this is the first ever mana system in a card game. In the first ever card game ever, it was made in like 1998 before half of our listeners were born.
I think it was before that. I think it was like early 90s.
Yeah, late 80s.
Late 80s, early 90s is when.
Fair
Magic
enough. I don't know when Magic. I don't know the date of it.
But
it's still old. So
yeah, it is.
It
is definitely. It is definitely an older game. So the mana system that they have, I think the ink system is superior. I also think like the cost on how you pay for things is a lot clearer in Lorcana. So like in Lorcana, we all know that you have in the upper like left-hand corner of each card, there's like a number, and that corresponds to how much ink you pay. Well, in Magic, there in the upper right-hand corner, there's a number, and then there can be symbols as well that denote what mana. So something could have like 2, and that means just 2 generic mana, and then it might have like basically colorless, and then it might have like a blue or black or whatever and stuff, and it means that you have to pay 2 plus the corresponding correct mana in order to play that. So a card that is like a 2 on it, which is colorless, and then it has like a blue and a black, it's basically cost 4.
Yeah,
you have to pay the specific cost for it, and the reason why I bring that up is because like I did something which I think we're gonna get here next year. They with the pre-release packs for Lorcana in Wilds Unknown, It's very similar to how Magic does their pre-release. They give you these pre-release packs. They come with, I think 5 packs of play boosters. And then for Magic, they give you like a pack of cards that has like, kind of like a to whatever flavor deck, like a kind of an assist deck or whatever. And it comes like in a little cellophane pack. And then you build out just like you would in Lorcana, a seal deck based on the cards you pull from your boosters and stuff, and I found that their mana system was a little challenging because it's like, I was like looked up the right hand corner. It's like, this is a 2. And so I'm sorting everything by that. And then I was like, no, that's not how this game works. I gotta restructure my thought process about how the game works. I will say, I thought it was a lot of fun. Like I said, I like Lorcana better. Disney is something that is much more like closer to who I am as a person and what I grew up with.
Magic Gathering X Mickey Mouse coming in a secret lair drop.
With all the licensing that they're doing. Yeah. I have a buddy who wanted me to get into it years and years ago, and I'm like, this just seems. I watched him play it like at Heroic over in Edwardsville a long time ago, and I'm like, I don't understand what's going on at all. And I feel like there was a point at one time where I didn't understand what was happening in Lorcana now, but when I think about other card games, I'm like, yes, wow. Today. But I appreciate how I think approachable and how easy it was to pick up Lorcana and play, and at least in comparison. And I'm sure with a little bit of experience with Lorcana now that I could play other games now too, but I don't have it in me to put that kind of time.
100%. I felt the same way. You look at a Magic card and you're like, wow, that's a lot of text. What the heck does all that mean?
And that's
having played Lorcana, seriously playing Lorcana for a while, and also playing something like Riftbound, had made going backwards into Magic a lot easier because you're like,
it's not backwards.
Flying is like evasive or
right. So it's not backwards. See, and I think this also is a fundamental just fact of the fact that Magic the Gathering is old as heck, as we said, because a card game has to constantly innovate and come out with new and new and new. And the same reason you guys were like, this is confusing, and Brad was like, I didn't understand this. That's one of the main reasons I am not drawn to Magic, is because there is just such a massively vast amount of things that exist, just keywords, categories. Vince, you talked about the mana cost in the card. There are some that have one or another symbol, so it's a circle with half blue and half black, and you can play either or. And then there's ones that it gets even, and then there's X's, an X, any number of cards. Like, it gets even more and more confusing, because when you've been out for 30 plus years, you always have to have something new and fancier. And I think there will definitely become a time where Lorcana has to approach this, how do we keep giving players more new and fun and more powerful things than the last 10 years or so, while still keeping this approachable to everyone, every new player that wants to come on for the next, decades of time.
So I think ultimately that's just going to become incumbent upon us as the community, right? To stay a welcoming community that is willing to teach new folks that come into the game. Because I was fortunate in some ways, like with Magic, that like one of the persons that I played in the Swiss this was like his second time doing like a like a pre-constructed deck, and like everybody else had played Magic for years. Like, this is the game they played and stuff. But I think making sure that you can help folks get into the game, understand what's going on, is really what's going to be incumbent upon it. Saying like 10 years from now to be excited that somebody new is still coming into the game to keep the game alive. And I think that's what I think Lorcana has really over any TCG, is just the community we have. And if we could hold on to that community, we really do have the like Disney magic, if you will, in our game, which is I think is really great. The one thing I'll leave on, though, that I will say I was skeptical of how I would like, and I actually really do like, is I do like the instance in Magic.
Yeah.
And I could see in the future that being something that Lorcana tries to adopt. Although I don't know how they would do it.
It's a fundamental difference, right? Because it's a
The
whole
rule-
thing
it'd be
that's
an entire
part-
rule
that's baked
change.
into the game, right? So we were just talking about this Tuesday night at Collector, where the difference was that like how approachable this game was is in the fact that I think Brittany from our team was saying that Ron likes in Riftbound where there's a lot of a collision where it's like you're going to do this, or I'm going to do. There's a lot of thinking
Back
on
and forth.
your turn, back and forth as well. In contrast to Lorcana, where it's to somebody like me who's never played before, I like that I can sit down and be like, all right, I'm gonna think out my turn. I'm gonna kind of guess what you're doing, but when I'm done with my turn, you're doing your turn, and then it's coming back to me, and and it's just a really simple back and forth, and that's what I appreciate and why I think makes it unique and approachable is that. Adding an instance though is something, and there are kind of things like Mufasa roulette, like if there, we've talked about examples in the past, if it was to turn over an honor or whatever, and you had the ink to do the kicker and all that stuff, where there's those kind of things, but there's not like something to bake that in later. Reactions
you'd have to
that
add
in later
set of
fundamentally
rules.
changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's something that's going to come soon to Lorcana, but I do think it just
I'll challenge.
kind of as you say,
that will never
Andy,
come to Lorcana.
Question.
I think you've got to innovate, continue innovating the game to make the game interesting. And I think because what I'll say is both the two games that I've experienced when it comes to instance now is Riftbound, which I've only played a little bit, and Magic, which I've only played a little bit of. And what I will say about both of those games is that you can only play instance in very specific scenarios in the game. So there are it's not like you can play them it's not like free will to play them at any time.
You haven't played enough Magic the Gathering. In Magic the Gathering, the amount of times you can play an instant, it's just an endless amount of anything your opponent does.
You can play an instant
in response to it.
You can play an instant over when you're in the challenge phase of the game.
No, you can play an instant at any point in time. Your opponent plays a land, you can play an instant in response. In Magic the Gathering, you can play an instant in response to anything your opponent plays. It gets in Riftbound, it is just during the challenge, which makes it a little more time.
My experience thus far, like I said, was just in the challenge phase.
Sure.
So maybe you can do it in other things. I'm not gonna comment on that. But and then it gets more complicated. But as long as it's limited, I think, in how it's done, in framed, I think it might not be. It'd be an interesting thing.
You should look at the rules, the rule book, and like the judge rule book and stuff for Magic the Gathering. It's like a tome. It's insane.
Yeah,
all the steps.
Well, I mean, I think Lorcana. Any card game that's been around for 30 years is going to have 30 plus years is going to have a rule book. I mean, Lorcana's on its way. Judge program when? Question mark.
Next year. They're working on it.
Soon. Yeah, I'm saying it's probably pretty soon.
Let's move on to Underworld news, shall we? Infinity Weekend details have been emailed out or sent out to the organized play kit stores, which are your local game stores. So start checking that Ravensburger Play Hub to find when your locals is scheduled, and make sure you get that gorgeous but unplayable currently A Whole New World full art promo card. But hey, you know what? It is still legal in Infinity, and that's what this is all about. It's about Infinity. Yep. And I tell you what, I'm excited about Infinity. I think it's a great format that's going to be hopefully more supported in your local game store.
Yeah. Also, we saw local Golden Mickey winner Aiden is competing in the LCCC. That's the Lorcana Cross Continental Challenge, hosted by Pavel, the developer of Pixelborn, where the winner will get $5,000 donated to the charity of their choice. Aiden is playing for the American Brain Tumor Association. His first round match was against CCQ winner, too many C's, Angelina, who I believe was taking the place of Artabax, who could not make the tournament. Aiden took the victory in round 1. You can catch that match on JDZ's YouTube channel. I think he promised that it would be up
And
before
Twitch.
this episode came out. The link will be in the description, and be sure to follow along with more announcements from Pavel. I also think there is like a web page on Inkdex and all the socials for round 2 information, so we can catch Aiden again. Hopefully, he takes the whole thing down, and then
He's going to. Let's go.
Yeah, and then there's also still plenty of round 1 matches left to be had. So check that out.
Yeah. Pretty exciting. I'll have a link to all of that in the description below. In other news, Vince still hasn't pulled an Enchanted in his ongoing series of TikToks shorts. But the news here is that it is now on YouTube as well. We'll be uploading both of those to multiple platforms, so you can enjoy the journey with him there. So be sure to check those out.
Yeah, if
That's
you've been
it.
wondering why you're seeing like old episodes pop up on YouTube, is because I'm cross-posting them. It's also why new episodes haven't, because I'm trying to catch up on YouTube before we start releasing new episodes. But they are coming, I promise.
Yeah, and we're going to get you that.
Well, let's
Enchanted
move
Cindy.
over into Constituents Corner with the mayor.
Oh, no, you guys. The mailbag is empty this week. I don't have anything, but that means that I think we're doing a good job in keeping up with our constituents here. So if you would like your questions answered, please feel free to write in. You can join our Discord. We have a channel dedicated to asking the questions. A lot of conversations happen there before they even reach the episode. Or you can comment in the description. Comment below here on this video, or any platform that you are listening, or anywhere on our socials at Rules of Villainy, and we'll be sure to get to those next time.
Awesome. Well, let's go into the main segment here this week. Andy has, and hold on, we're gonna get there. Just chill, relax. We're gonna get there. I just want to first start with, before we get to that, that Andy has in our show notes. I just want the listeners to understand that he has Amethyst Steel is the best deck. And he is increasing the size of it, currently speaking. It is now 59-point font.
Wait, we gotta go.
It just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, it just keeps.
It doesn't make it any more truer, but it does take up a lot of space.
I mean, I
in
think
our show
Andy
notes right
thinks
now.
it gets it.
There we go. 67
But
points.
But before we get into discussion, the captain of the Rules of Villainy team, Jimmy, asked a question here, which we didn't want to include in Constituents Corner, but we're going to include here in the main segment. He asks, "Is Amethyst Steel the best deck?" So let's answer that. Is it the best deck?
I think so.
I'm not answering. I mean, it's
Brad's
the
not
most
going to answer
consistent
that.
right
Brad
now.
is
I'm tired
unbiased.
of.
He is biased, horribly
I'm just
biased.
literally tired
no
of playing
reason.
it. I think I have a lot of opinions about it.
Tired
I have
of
a lot
playing
of
it, Brad?
reasons
How
about
many
it.
games
Yeah,
have you
but-
played on it?
No, I'm tired of playing against it. Like literally, the entire meta here
is
in
it 'cause
St.
it's
Louis is
good?
Amethyst Steel, and it's. It's. I have a lot of things to say about it, and I want to stay positive most of the time. But like, it's just, it's very good. If we're arguing best deck right now, I would have to agree to that. I mean, we just saw it win Milwaukee at the hands of Frank Karsten, and I mean, it's got all the tools it needs to just make a board presence and even hard removal with the strengths and the dock. Like, we're gonna get into all of it, but like, I'm just this past Thursday night, 8 people at Bodax, 4 of them are playing Amethyst Steel, and then I jumped on a live stream with our friends at Legends of the Inkwell last night, and he said he went out to his locals. I
only
think
3 of
Monday
us.
night, the night before.
There were only 3 of us on
I thought-
Amethyst Steel.
It would be you, Kristen, Ron, and Andy.
Was Andy also on Amethyst Steel?
Yeah, because I played him Monday as well. This
He
past
didn't. He
Monday,
wasn't
and
at. He wasn't at Bodox last Thursday.
it doesn't matter.
Well, or it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. But then again, on Monday night, I'm running into Amethyst Steel all over again. But what I was saying was, Mike from Legends of the Inkwell got on a live stream last night and was talking about his local where he showed up and including himself playing Amethyst Steel, all but one deck was Amethyst Steel there. And it's just like, how is that? That doesn't excite me or make me interested in playing it all when It just the entire field is Amethyst Steel, and it's
Play
good.
something that
It's
beats
just good.
Amethyst Steel then. That
I
should be
know,
pretty
and I
easy
don't
to
feel
do.
like building around
Well,
it.
all right.
I
Here's the thing. I will say that the data does show that Amethyst Steel is a strong and powerful deck. Do I personally, though, think it is ultimately going to be the best deck in this meta? No, I don't.
don't know.
Yeah.
Everybody slept on it last set too. Like everybody was talking about Blurple the whole time, but Amethyst Steel was just there in the shadows, taking dubs the entire time. Like it's
Steel
been
is
that good for
the
a
most
while.
consistent deck. It has the best of like the three. You want good characters, good value characters. You want card draw, and you want removal. And it has the most consistent and the best of those three of any ink combination there is. Does it do the most powerful things? No. Does it go the fastest? No. But it does the same thing very well and very consistently, and has a lot of ways to be tuned to various different decks. I think, I understand where you're coming from, Brad. The idea of going into 7 out of 8 Amethyst Steels at an LGS might not be fun for you or some, but it might be fun for others. I would argue, in my opinion, I like mirror matches. I've said this before. I think they're very much like chess, and it becomes down to who has tuned their deck better and who can make the decisions better. But at the same time, if my meta is 7 out of 8 are all the same deck, well, I know what I'm cooking when I get home. That's an easy answer. Do I need to worry about this? No. That's how I won the set champs with my Emerald Steel, because I was like, I expect 80+% to be not, to be this deck, to be this type of deck. And I was like, I'll just lose to the other 20%. And what do you know? I didn't have to play them, or I just lost to them and it didn't matter. I won enough of the others. And it's like, those can be both, 7 out of 8 of the same deck can be very fun or positive for many reasons.
I think though what we'll see, like we were debating earlier, right? Like where we are in the set, week 2, week 3, we're still very early. And when you have a very dominant deck, what I think ends up happening is folks try to figure out how to beat the dominant deck. And so I actually think in some ways, if you're an Amethyst Steel fan and you really want it to be the best deck, you might be a little concerned that it's spiking so quickly, because I think a lot of folks are going to try to determine what ways in which to exploit its weaknesses.
Yeah.
I think a lot of decks, and I think that's the beauty of Amethyst Steel. And you're right, it's week 2, week 3, going into week 3 here. So while we only have like 6 more weeks until like Richmond or whatever, which is crazy, right? 5 or 6 more weeks till Richmond. So you say only week 3, but these are accelerated timelines here. We got deadlines to meet. But I feel like a lot of other decks that people enjoy playing, whether it's Blurple or Amber Steel. I've lost Amber Steel still. It still has play lines that win. Blurple does. Sapphire Steel does. Baja. All of these decks, even some of the more eccentric decks that people have been cooking up, like Ruby Amber or Ruby Steel or Emerald Steel, or even this new Emerald Amethyst, right? Like there's all of these decks I think are very viable, which is kind of why I disagreed with Brad on the it's all Amethyst Steel meta. In my opinion, I'm seeing a lot of stuff. I do still think Amethyst Steel is the best, but I've been seeing a lot of stuff. So it is great. And I think all of these decks can tech for Amethyst Steel better, but I think they get worse against each other. And I don't think they get nominally better against Amethyst Steel, because I think that's the beauty of Amethyst Steel is it's just so consistent.
It's just cookie cutter.
It doesn't really care what you do. And then, you can even get into this, you get into the Frank Karsten style of it. And now, instead of playing 4x of one card, you're playing 2 and 2 or 1, 1, 1, 1. And it's each one is good against one of these random decks that's coming to get you in the meta, and it's like, well, come at me, bro. I'm fine. I got a whole toolbox here to deal with you. So
yeah, but I mean, Frank Karsten's idea of that deck, right, is to not necessarily have 4 1-ofs of something to necessarily like need those to win, but just to change the percentage just a little bit in
improve your
favor,
matchup.
because all the cards basically, he talked about this on Podcana, that like a lot of the cards, even though they're different cards, they all kind of do very similar things, and so they work in basically all situations, but one card might be just a little bit better for one situation over another. So what you're not doing by adding these one-ins, and like particularly like when you look at somebody like Frank Karsten's deck, and I'm not gonna make any comment on Frank Karsten's deck building skills here, but is you don't want to turn the dial backwards. You don't want to add a card to make your deck worse, right? You don't want to take a one of to improve one match and then make it worse overall. And ultimately, like, I think that's where you're probably right, Andy, in this deck is that as the meta shifts to try to beat one kind of version of Amethyst Steel, Amethyst Steel could just be like, okay, well, I'll take out these cards. It's like, maybe I don't do like, 2 of Demona. Maybe I do 4 of Doc, or maybe I do, 1 Doc, 3 Demona. There's all these kind of like, and that's just one example, right? Of how to, have some strategy on like, do I preference the card draw, or do I really want to, exert my opponent's deck, like board, so that I can, challenge it favorably? Do I do things like, have 3 Lexingtons and one genie, right, to maybe help with the Dumbo trigger, or in areas where I think the genie's actually going to be better because my opponent isn't playing a heavy evasive deck and will have challenges, removing the Dumbo versus something like the Lexington. So there's a lot of decisions I think that actually go into that deck and make it has the tools to be able to shift in based on whatever the meta shifts. And so I think that makes it a pretty strong deck. But as we talked about earlier in our Underworld news, Aiden, Ruby Amethyst beat a Amethyst Steel deck. Now, I mean, we could say a little bit like poor Angela did brick pretty hard in game
Angelina,
3. Angelina, thank you. Angelina bricked pretty hard in game 3.
I couldn't bring myself to say it in the chat because like I'm genuinely rooting for both of them. Of course, my bias toward Aiden and my just disdain for Amethyst Steel right now, but it felt just a little good seeing Amethyst Steel just not work one time.
I actually just want to know. I just as Brad said that, Andy rolled his eyes for our audio listeners. Like so loud. I had to point it out.
Basically, I tested Aiden's deck today after the match. I had heard he was playing Ruby Amethyst. I think that's awesome. I think he actually misspoke when he said Ruby Sapphire. He's been playing it since the beginning. I remember losing to Aiden at the very first set champs when he was playing Ruby Amethyst. So, this was a while ago, but he's played Ruby Amethyst before and was very good with that as well. So it was really interesting to see him on that list. I tested it out. Ultimately, it basically went even with Amethyst Steel. We didn't get a ton of matchups, but we went back and forth, and whoever was on the play basically won, which is a good place to be for any deck, to be able to go sort of toe to toe. I was playing the Ruby Amethyst, and what really stood out to me was it felt like it felt like I lacked the ability to interact with the opponent's board other than Elsa and Demona. And when I was playing against something like Amethyst Steel, while while I felt like I had a stronger way to attack the board, and I made more favorable trades. More of my cards were favorable into theirs. They also had the Demona and Elsa, but they also had Strength and Zeus, and so having that additional set of tools to remove characters from the board made that stalemate a little harder for Ruby Amethyst to deal with. However, Hercules, the main reason that Aiden played that deck, does negate two of those, the Strength and the Zeus, or the Timu Zeus, from being able to attack him. At the same time, though, like a Mare Wind Dancer on 4 in Steel has basically the exact same effect, right? You're not putting 7 damage on something on that turn. So like it gives it this ability, and it also trades back just as nice, essentially. But it's an interesting build. It's another deck that just proves that it can, it can hold its own in the meta, which is why I think this meta game is pretty awesome, even if Amethyst Steel is.
It is a very, very different. The thing that I've seen about since rotation with Amethyst Ruby is it has lost some of its key hard removal tools, so it is less a control deck, and it tries to be. And so in order to compensate for being a little less control, it ends up having to be a little bit more aggro. And as a result of that, we got some more. Well, you look at something like a Diablo, the 2 uninkable 3/3 quest for 2. So that's a card you add because you want to go faster in that deck. You don't. You want to use things like Lumieres to build your board presence, so that when you can slam down the Demona to control their board, you can make favorable trades with your opponent. And so you actually your like control curve actually ends up seeming to be a little bit later in the game than when you would play like Ruby Amethyst with something like Brawl, or
Maui,
doing
Tremaine,
like things. Tremaine. Yeah, you're doing these things where you're trying to like control the board early on in the game with Ruby Amethyst, and you've lost basically all of those tools. The only, I think, tool that exists, and it's still a pretty late play, it's the 5-drop, the Headless Horseman, which is actually still conditional because it only removes a character that has 2 strength or less.
Its other ability was pretty impressive to see when it worked as well. I used to
because you could stack.
You're already established on the board. Yeah,
it was Horseman on 5 and then Demona on 6, and I was able to take out 2 or 3 characters and then buff up a 1-cost 3/1 Tinkerbell to 7 to be able to take out a Wind Dancer, trade out Wind Dancer. So it's interesting.
But you think about it, it's like the play line is like, right, you want to play like, say, Diablo or Palace Guard on turn 1, and then your ideal, I think, turn 2 in that deck is probably the Diablo, because you want to press lore, and that's a great 2-drop. Beyond that, maybe the Lumiere, especially if you get Diablo, because then you could then swing your Diablo into a lot of these characters that are 2/1s that people are playing on turn 1, and trade them, get a card, keep playing, and I like something like the Junior Woodchuck Guidebook. I also just love saying that's such a fun card name.
Friends about this ability to sing, right?
Yeah.
It is friends without
it's
the
like
ability
friends with a layaway option.
But honestly, it's funny. It's actually kind of funny you say that. There are a lot of layaway options, though. Not just in Ruby Amethyst, but in also other decks. So you have in Ruby Amethyst, you have the Junior Woodchuck Guidebook. You also have Cheshire Cat, which is basically a layaway bell, and you see that being played. And I've seen that played in Amethyst Steel. I've seen that played in Emerald Amethyst. So, these abilities to be able to boost move damage, and I think the listeners actually want to know what both of your opinions are on the keyword boost.
Well, I mean, we could do a whole. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. I want to still talk about. I mean, we got some examples.
The boost is very fragile layaway, because if you play a Cheshire on 3 and you're on the draw, and then they like strength your Cheshire, then your layaway, they gave away your reservation to someone else essentially, which is a really bad. With items being very minimal in the format, item removal is just non-existent, and so there's Clarabelle. Little Clarabelle is like the only card in played, I think, currently that removes items really. Nobody else is really playing anything. The Headless Horseman is really nice though. The biggest thing I think Ruby lost, Vince was talking about, the biggest thing is B prep, in my opinion. Some of the other tools like Brawl, Medusa, might have been able to help in the department of lack of removal, but for me the biggest thing is that I just, my only way to, remove your stuff is to challenge it essentially, and I have to exert it because that's what Amethyst gives me, and if I can't do that, they're just going to build a big board, and a lot of times they're going to build a big board better than mine, and it can be really rough, and so it's interesting. I don't know if Dragonfire could make its way in there. Headless Horseman is also really an interesting one. Like, it's so good into Genie, but I feel like it's really bad into like everything else. I guess Cindy, it hits. I'm still not convinced you even care about Cindy that much. I mean, I remove it still, but like,
yeah, I do too. But ultimately, after she does her thing, it's like,
I think I think it's very much depends. I think in a Sapphire Steel matchup, you definitely want to remove it just because they have so many more options to be able to re-trigger it again. Yep. I think in other I think in Baja, you don't care really. Like,
yeah,
I think it's like one of the only princess characters that's played in that deck.
Yeah, it can also sing. Like, I guess you have to respect the song. That's probably the main reason I remove it, is because you have to respect either the You're Welcome or the Thunderbolt or the Strength.
You are right about that.
Strength doesn't do much because that's pretty much the only character they have on board. And like, I just feel like Sapphire Steel is very often very low on cards at that point, and so is Sapphire Emerald. And it's just like, if they're gonna play a Namari next turn and then ink again and draw, like, they're just going to be throwing away their last card for one new card, right? And like, what are the chances that went from a Tipo to a, Beyond the Horizon or a Hades or something they can now? It seems like some of the biggest mistakes I've playing Sapphire Steel, I think it happened on Deck Test Tuesday. I double Cindy'd. Double Cindying is kind of a trap, I feel like.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
yeah.
Well,
we've said it before in this podcast that like the ink system,
Cindy is overrated. I agree.
It can be really.
Well, we also said that about Dumbo.
hard.
I think he was overrated. I think he turned out to be a pretty good card. I'm pretty happy with.
For sure.
Dumbo
Cindy. Yeah, Cindy's hot right now, and I had some great matches last night with Link at the collector store. The mirror match was absolutely insane. Almost milled him on. Both of us were running super low in game 2 with the Beyond the Horizon, the Horseman, controversial card here at Rules of Villainy, but
unplayable.
Running 4 of the Horsemen.
I don't know what you're talking about,
Brad.
Yeah,
you're running 4 of?
Yeah, and it was awesome. I had a blast. Me and Link were laughing the whole time at
Did you
just
win?
the shenanigans and how I think our decks were. I ended up winning it at the end, but he won the game where I almost milled them. I was way behind and his board was, but that's a whole other thing. I still want to be on Ruby Amethyst here, but we started talking about Cindy, which is totally fine. Time will tell.
Cindy's way more overrated than Dumby. I'll go ahead and say that.
I've said last night because Link was asking me about it too. I'm still a believer in Kita. I think
Kita's
Kita
good.
is a lot more
slower.
Yeah.
I think Kita's really good. I
Slower
honestly
for
think
sure.
like
Good.
if you don't hit Cindy, getting a Kita is like the next best thing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because
I'm
you
with Brad. I
automatically
think
get
we
to
need to make Kita be the best thing. I think Kita should be the card you're trying to get to and just slow down. The problem is impactful six
so much fun.
drops and being
Yeah.
able to still impact the board before then. It's rough.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the key is that I mean, especially Sapphire Steel wants to get to its big bombs. Although I don't know, so I'm curious to hear your opinion, Brad, on the Headless Horseman. Actually, without us getting too
not losing 20 minutes on the podcast. No, no, it's especially in the mirror. I don't know about every other match. I think I can agree with Andy in the sense that like losing those cards, late in the game against other matches where you're potentially not hitting actions or could be very detrimental. But in the mirror match with Link, when I know that he's running the Zeuses and the Sails and the develops and all this stuff, like, I mean, I was doing 6 to 8 damage every time. And we're in top deck mode. We're both playing around Goliath as well, so I know that I'm getting the cards back and everything, and I'm looking for the horizons. In fact, I was only running 3. It was Ron's deck. It was RMB's public deck for all intents and purposes. But I forgot that there was only 3 beyond the horizons in there, because if I could have found the 4th one, I know that I TPO'd one away earlier, but I was like, I think I can mill Link here if I just play this right and do everything the correct way, because I was finding all the horsemen in the late game, and he was essentially just discarding 3 cards every time because we didn't have hands at that point. And I'm like, I got to the point where I'm counting the cards in his deck and thought that like the mill's possible, and then I realized, I don't have any more ways to do it. He's going to quest out and win. But I had a blast with it. I thought I was always doing it in a way that I was like, okay, like I'm counting the discard, seeing how many actions are already there, if I've inked a sail, or thinking about how many times I inked a sail or any of that stuff, and figuring out what is this going to actually work, but especially in the mirror match where he's running just as many, if not more, actions, and it was getting a lot of things removed until he just loaded up the board and I couldn't do anything any further. But it was one of the most fun games that I've played in a long time, and he's just always a blast to play.
So I had a very similar experience with Heather playing it, but we were both playing the mirror, and I agree. Like the Headless Horseman's really fun in that match because like, I mean, if you whiff, it's bad, but like, but you're
all just gambling.
Yeah, you are gambling. But you're right. You more than often are going to hit in a deck with so many actions.
Yeah.
But my question, I think, to which I agree. I think I've thought about this a little bit more, and I think Andy's right in the sense that you'd much rather have, a Diet Zeus to play, than throw it away to gamble to do damage.
There's like,
is it worth it that you're throwing away their Diet Zeus to do damage? And I guess my question is like, is it worth it if it's really only good in like, it's probably not great in a lot of matchups. It's probably only great.
Aiden's Ruby Amethyst has 0 actions. Kirsten kept inking her Pete's because she knew they had 0 actions. So
yeah.
I think you have it's basically 50-50, right? Half of your actions you don't want to throw away with the horseman, and half of them you want to throw away and don't care about. Your sails, your develops, your visions, I guess if you have them, you might argue that you could throw them away. And your other half, your strength and your thunderbolts, you would rather have those in your hand because they do more than 2 damage almost certainly. And into certain matchups, it does great, which I think is why you only played 2, not normally 4, Mr. Mayor over here.
I'm double checking that. I'm pretty sure.
But a big problem I have with it is that you have no cards in Sapphire Steel. Sapphire Steel is a top deck. It wants to run lean and mean with those Goliaths and keeping only 2 in your hand. So you're just like flipping them off the top. So you don't even have like this chance of like, I have 8 cards in my hand, 4 of them are actions that I don't want. Let's shuffle up and hope that they But when your opponent has actions, now it's flipped, right? So now when you're in a Sapphire Steel mirror, you have 8 bad ones on yours that you don't want to hit, and 8 of the same 8 you want to hit for your opponent, and then your 8. And so Brad's right. If you are counting in the discard, you're remembering what you inked and what they inked, then you can absolutely, do the math and make a Headless Horseman be far more valuable than if you just play it without that forethought. One, I don't want to do that math. I am big dumb. And two, like I just at
Frank, come on the pod, Frank.
At 8 cost, I feel
walk
like
us through the hypergeometric.
There's got to be something better than a 5/7 quest for 2 that might do anywhere from 0 to 12 damage. I don't know. I haven't looked at it yet. In my builds, I basically think I just took the Horseman out and put in like another Hades if there was. I think some of them only have 3 Hades, more Tinkerbells, more of just like the 6 and 7 drop bombs that they had in there. Oh, and the other one is Horizon, which is, I think that's the other action, which is probably on the fence. It's like a Visions, where sometimes you, like Brad said, he wanted the Horizon, and other times you don't care about the Horizon because you have a Goliath or something already developed. And so you're like, that's like a 50-50. Sometimes you don't want to throw that away. Sometimes you do. But yeah. Jimmy also asked which version of Amethyst Steel, and I should just say these were this is like super secret insider information. We need to let the people know that they're getting this without having to pay our normal Metafy rate. This is Captain Jimmy's question of the week that was posed to and directed at the ROV team members in hopes of trying to do some research. So we obviously don't have all of the details from that research from the team, but we're just sort of going through this thought exercise to, because this is something we're doing in our testing. Is Amethyst Steel the best?
You want more? Join the Patreon down below.
And then they talked about which version is the best. I think there are at least 2 distinct versions. I kind of think there's maybe a third version that exists. There is the more standard Amethyst Steel, I would say, which has a very balanced amount of everything. I don't really know a better way to describe it. Then there is the more aggro version, the faster version. I don't want to call it aggro because it's really not, but it's slightly faster. It removes a couple of the bigger 2 drops or 3 drops with cards like Timothy Q Mouse and the Fast Flyer Tinkerbell, Surfer Tink, to be able to gain you a little bit of additional lore. And then I would also say there is the evasives, the like essentially all evasive version that runs Happies and the Lena's as Lena Saberwing and the Tinkerbells, and really goes heavy into the Dumbo aspect of it. Tries to really capitalize on Dumbo. All of those versions, I don't know about you guys. I don't really have a favorite. I play the more basic version, but I think that's the beauty of Amethyst Steel.
I like the ones that are sitting next to me and not across from me.
I'll just say that I have a pretty strong, I think, opinion that I like the more basic version. I think the other versions can tend to be a little they tend, I think, maybe do better against other Amethyst Steel decks, but as a result can make themselves a little weaker into other matchups. So you look at something like, I give a good example here, I think, is the Violet Saberwing. It's a 3/1. That's a card that somebody could just play, mean and scary and be
dump truck
match. So yeah.
Tinkerbell.
So it's like it basically it's one of those cards I think that probably makes your match into the Baja decks or any real Emerald deck. I think basically all the Emerald decks are running mean and scary and stuff. I think that's actually probably makes your matchups like maybe slightly worse.
They have it. It can be real bad.
There.
I've opened Diablo Lena, and then they've hit a malicious on 3, and I've lost both my characters. That's definitely a bad feeling.
So
I probably should have diversified. Hook Lena, so I don't lose them both.
It's kind of the reason why. I mean, it works like for Aiden, right? Like in this Ruby Amethyst is particularly why I'm not a huge fan of that Tinkerbell, the 3/1 and stuff. Like I can understand it. It's like it's leaning again, like I said, to be a much more aggro Ruby Amethyst, and it can work. But I also think like there are probably matchups where you'd much rather have like a 1/3 in a Lumiere on board, so that you can trade a 2/3, right? Like so, like you're making decisions, and so I don't know that there's necessarily a wrong decision per se. Well, there are, I think, wrong decisions for sure that you can make to your deck. But I'd say like I think.
It's the tournament
exactly. That's exactly. Is I think these are meta dependent decisions, and so if you're going to go into a meta that is all Amethyst Steel, you might try to make your Amethyst Steel better in the mirror and weaker to other decks. But
Pete's still good,
but Pete's insane. That card's always going to be good.
Well, that card's gonna 100% rotate out.
Just for a new one,
bigger
and badder.
Repeat. His name is Repeat.
Yeah, Repeat. Yeah.
That card was set 5 card, right? It's a Shimmering Skies card.
I think so. So Ravensburger, I know you're listening. So when you reprint Pete, we're gonna need you go ahead and let us get the Pete reprint. Give him Rule of Villainy. That would be even better. Honestly,
his flavor text now is perfect for a Rule of Villainy.
It's basically a Rule of Villainy. Yeah. It ain't cheating if you're making the rules.
What is his flavor text?
Yeah, it ain't cheating if you're the one making the rules. So just give it, the 13th Rule of Villainy. Throw that on there.
100. That honestly, you just need to add the tag.
You should know that.
To add a Rule of Villainy.
But give us the reveal, and we'll do the Pete repeat joke. Pete and Repeat are in Lorcana. Pete rotates out. Who's left? And then we'll just I'll make 10 hours of that video. Pete and Repeat joke card reveal 10-hour edition on YouTube. So that's a great piece of content. You should hit us up.
Let's answer this last part of this question here, which is what decks can beat it?
All of them, frankly. I think that's true.
Hey, I have this past Monday night, even though I was down on it because I played Ron twice. I ended up taking a best of 3 with my Amber Fossa, or Amber Simba. Wow, I can't even talk anymore. It's not
Roomba.
Fossa anymore. I gotta get that
Roomba.
Roomba, yeah.
Deck.
Ruby Simba. But best of 3 there. But there was a mistake I think he made in game 3 where Justin even pointed out, the conditions in which the sequencing that he did eliminated like a hook when it didn't need to. I had a mini on board and everything. But, playing around, and the times that I do well against Amethyst Steel with that deck is, when my deck works like it's supposed to and I get the ramp, I get the bodyguards and all that stuff. But, as we talked about consistency at the beginning of this segment, though, it's not consistent. For the most part, but I from my experience, all I've really run into it the past 2 weeks is my Ruby Simba, and I have beaten it, but I'm not confident going into any of those matches consistently with that deck. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah,
I forgot why I said it.
You playing the new Mickey now?
I should be now that I've seen him work.
That card's made.
He is very good.
That has made my experience into Roomba a bit more tricky, but I don't know.
Where have you played it? Played into Roomba?
Well, I mean, I've also seen you play it, but yeah, I've done some testing into Roomba, but
wow, you must really wanted to beat
a better version, one without Simba, basically. But one without the Simba package. But essentially, like the big thing is the Raja, right? The 3/4 Raja is like a big part of these Amber decks now, as well as even the Rapunzel. I know you don't play that card because you're not.
I don't have any.
Yeah, you're not trying to be as aggressive with it. But for me, you play Amethyst Steel and you don't know what you're playing against. So you mulligan for curve and your strength, and you'll end up with a 3-drop, and you just play something on 1, 2, 3, 4, strength something. And then like I have found that most decks, including Roomba, just like even if you get to do your thing, you are in a worse position after Amethyst Steel has gone just 1, 2, 3, 4 on curve. There obviously are bad curves you can have. You can be stuck Diablo into Dock no trigger, into like there's no bad 3-drops. They're all great, but you can have slightly weaker starts, but none of them feel great into the Amethyst Steel. The problem is other decks have these powerful lines, and if you're going second, Amethyst Steel, can get the they can get beaten up on going second a little bit. You got to kind of be a little bit lucky, and you got to be able to survive that long game in what ends up becoming a very mid-rangey battle back and forth.
What helps quite a bit with my deck is I can only speak to my deck mostly than what I've been playing, but Mowgli being introduced into the game, when you talk about altering into that strength, Mowgli, if I can get him out before you have the chance to play that strength, I've been working on trying to have him and time it to where I can snipe that strength away from you and not some other thing. It worked against me the other night at game night when against Rod, he had both strength and magical maneuvers in his hand and was able to get rid of course of magical maneuvers because that strength was going to come out and take out my Huey on the next turn. So, been vigilant in trying to, make you discard those actions that are going to be, detrimental to my long game. But I just want to give a shout out to Mowgli. He's finally in the game. People wanted him for so long, and he's been very helpful in those matchups at the right time too. So,
it's definitely it's nice that you can have two. That it's nice that your actions count, and so if you just have two, then like you're good. Easier to insulate yourself from than like an Ursula would be, where they get to pick. But I mean, I'm running less Fire the Cannons. I'm not running magical maneuvers. I'm not running Cobra strength, whatever you call it, hypnotic strength.
Hypnotic strength.
Yeah.
So are the only actions you're just running? I assume for strength. Yeah.
4 strength, 2 Thunderbolts. I tried 4 Thunderbolts and I bricked a little too much. I kind of like just getting the character on board with Mayor Wind Dancer, in my opinion, because it felt really bad to play. Like, I'm able to take out their Genie or their like Lexington or something by on turn 4. If I don't have a turn 4 character, I just play the Thunderbolt outright. But it felt kind of mid. I'd rather just play that Lexington and let them do what they want with their character, because now they can't turn it sideways.
And on the draw, have you cut cannons totally out?
No, I have one. I think I have maybe one, maybe none. I think it might be down to 1 cannons. Cannons on the draw is really nice into aggro, but I don't see as much aggro.
But it's also, I would imagine, although I haven't done the deck, I have not gotten a lot of testing into, which I would like to, is Baja. But I imagine cannons might be good against some of those shift targets.
Yeah, they don't shift as early as they used to anymore. They're not what is it? Baymax shifting. Yeah. They are doing Basil shifting, right? But
can't cannons of Prince Philip. That's for
you
sure.
can't cannons of Prince Philip. That's annoying. Yeah, the biggest problem I have with Baja often is like Webby on 1. I guess I could cannons it, but that I guess maybe that would be a smart move depending on what it is. But like if they go Webby and then into Prince Philip, even if I've built up my board, that's where it gets kind of awkward because I like play Genie on 4 and then I go to Sing Strength and they both have Ward. And I'm like, okay, well, And then I'm stuck with like my strength and my, Thunderbolt in hand, and I'm like, okay, but they don't have any characters I can use this on. So that can be an awkward situation, which I think is why I brought Pete back, so that you can stop that impending doom of malicious Prince
that's
Philip.
really good. Yeah, that's a good way to think about that. I find Webby. I think Webby's better than I would have initially thought it was.
Yeah, Webby's pretty good.
Because basically, especially if you're on
the
draw, he basically allows you to catch up.
So she quests, you ink for from the top of the deck with Webby, and then you can still ink for turn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the important part, I think, and why I think Webby works better in Emerald Sapphire rather than Emerald Amethyst or Emerald Steel is largely because against Sapphire decks, the ones that are just going like Webby, Prince Philip, like you're not necessarily going fast enough, but if you get to take advantage of them not playing anything for the first couple turns, all they're doing is ramping. So then whether you're on the play or the draw, you can ramp with them with your Webby. And I think that is valuable when you have bombs that you can follow it up with, like Emerald Sapphire does with Hades, Basil, John Silver, or Prince Philip, those kind of combos. But yeah, Webby's a really fun deck. I think going back to the question, I think any deck can beat it. But I think Amethyst Steel can beat any deck, and I kind of feel like Amethyst Steel. It's like the classic Ruby Amethyst. I think Brendan from Podcana said this a ways back when he was still on Podcana. That about Ruby Amethyst, he said if you are like 20% better than your opponent, you just like win. You can just like win the game. You can win any game with Ruby Amethyst. So I think Amethyst Steel is one of those decks that if you are just like a little bit better than your opponent, if you can outskill them, out decision making them, and maybe get a little bit lucky in the process, better lucky than good.
I think I think you shouldn't overlook the fact that you can you can very easily brick yourself.
I think we saw it today with Angelina. Like she threw away a dock and drew into 3 more. Well, she had to play a turn 2 dock.
Well, she kept one dock and threw one away and drew into 2.
I think the way I remember that is that
I just know she had 3.
She threw one dock away and then drew into them.
2 more.
So I don't think she kept it.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and watch, but I'm
I'm
fairly certain that she didn't keep it.
I think you play less docks because that's the brickiest card. If you think about, I played maybe like the 2 of docks. But
yeah. Magical Maneuvers, I think, was a great combo last set when people were using that to recycle their docks too. They refill, and
then you need less. Then you definitely only need 2 docks. But with Demona taking the place of dock, you need less of them. And then I think when you look at Genie, Thunderbolt, and Mayor Winddancer, and you can argue that, excuse me, Mayor Winddancer isn't in that party, and you don't actually need him. But those are the only other uninkables you're playing in that list. And so you just Calhoun, but you obviously want to play Calhoun. You want to play Genie. You want to play Mayor Winddancer or these Thunderbolts. It's the dock is the only card that really you don't want to play sometimes, especially if you have multiple of them.
All right. Well, any other last thoughts?
I never really got a window. I'll do it really briefly here, and I'll talk even more about it on the upcoming meta report. But just hanging back on Ruby Amethyst, man, we talked about Aiden's today, but there's different versions of it out there too that are still exciting to me as well. Steven's been doing really well with the Shere Khan version that got a 3-0 last night at the collector store. We'll go into depth on that on the meta report next week, as well as the Ikari, who is somebody who I had a lot of fun playing the Ruby Steel last set, has a damage manipulation Shere Khan deck that's out there right now with the Can't Hold It Back Anymore and the Mother Gothels and whatever else. Get Shere Khan out there who damages himself to ready up and all that stuff, and then singing the Can't Hold It Back, the Frady Cat Prince John that does self damage when they play characters. Just the identity of Ruby Amethyst having a lot of those damage moving abilities with the Cheshire Cat, the bell we talked about earlier. It's exciting, and for the first time since like set 2, I'm kind of, especially with Aiden's performance today, I'm kind of excited to try out Ruby Amethyst again. I did it just a little bit on Monday night at game night against Ron. I didn't win. I even misplayed very, very badly, which we all had a laugh about. But just excited, and I didn't think I'd be excited for Ruby Amethyst again. I'll say
it's a different deck. It's a very different. It's a different.
It's a shift
deck build than it was have. I would love to have seen these matches. I'm skeptical of that Shere Khan, but I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad it worked out.
It did work out for me. It worked out for Steven. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I'm glad it worked out for Steven, but I'm like super skeptical.
I'm mostly questioning why these decks are called Shere Khan decks. Is he really deserve the namesake of this deck? I mean,
Steven's is not.
I think Steven's deck is decent. I don't
Steven's
know
deck
Shere
is a
Khan
Ruby
is the
Amethyst
reason
deck
why.
with Shere Khan. Yeah, Steven's deck is a Ruby Amethyst deck with Shere Khan, and the Ikaris deck. Both of these will be in the description below, by the way. But the Ikaris deck is the whole purpose of that deck is to try to get to the Shere Khan. They're playing it to do the Shere Khan shenanigans. So,
which I think is
fun.
Sure, fun is a good word. We do have a teammate, ROV Reed, who is building a Shere Khan deck, and that is truly a namesake Shere Khan deck. It is still being cooked. We can't release that yet. He's saving it for DLC Richmond, I believe.
Does it have the Emerald Shere Khan, the best Khan?
Probably both of them.
No, it's a Ruby Amethyst Creeper
Those
Shere
were-
Khan deck, but I
Creeper,
really
that's
can't say
right,
much
he
more
loves the
because
Creeper,
it's being saved for DLC Richmond, so I don't really want to spoil.
I feel like right now we need
simmering.
you need to insert Captain Kirk from the
Khan saying
Khan, the God.
Every time you say Shere Khan, I'm going to edit out you saying the second part of that name and throw that.
I was like, there's a soundbite right there with doing that. So congratulations.
All right, let's move on to
Villain of the week.
take it away, Mr. Mayor.
Apologies to Gantu. Our villain of the week
All
this
hail.
week is Hades looking for a deal. He is an Amethyst character. I'm reading the card, Vince. I'm sorry. He is a 5-cost inkable character in Amethyst. He's 3/4, quest for 1, and he has the ability, what do you say? When you play this character, you may choose an opposing character. If you do, draw 2 cards unless that character's player puts that card on the bottom of the deck. He has the flavor text. I'm kind of on a schedule here. I got plans for August, and the art is by Javi Salas. And this card, Andy, why don't you tell us about it? I know how much fun you're having with it.
It's so great. Like, just look at the pose of the card. Now I wish I had one here, and Vince is gonna make me put that card in post so that you guys can see it because I'm talking about the art. But the pose of just like, hey, we're making a deal here. It's the pose that I give my opponents every time I play this card. I just love the mind games. It's almost like a poker mind game kind of sense to you play this card and you pick a card. And so obviously there's sometimes that are just free, right? I think Vince talked about it earlier. They have a Clarabelle and you play Hades. The answer is just draw 2. You don't even have to declare your target. They're like, take your 2 cards. I'm also going to get those 2 cards later. But playing a Hades at the most fun in Amethyst Steel is playing a Hades, pointing at their genie, making them think, and you could see the steam coming off of their head as they cook their CPU to try and figure out what to do. And they say, as Kirsten would say, take your dang cards. and you draw 2. And then
Is
whether
that
you
how she
had it
says
or
it?
not, you shuffle your hand around so they'll never know whether you top decked it off those 2 or you already had it. Then you go, I think I'll sing Thunderbolt with my genie targeting your genie. So guess what? You still lost the genie. The mind games are so great. And then like when they do it, when it gets played on me, I'm equally as excited. I'm like, yes, let's make the deal. I want to do it. I'll sell my soul for the devil. Like, let's go. And then, I love just like when they want the 2 cards, that's when you say no. It might hurt you a little bit, but when you can tell that they're desperate for those 2 cards, you just go, nah, bottom of the deck. That's fine with me.
Yeah.
You don't get nothing. You lose. You get nothing. Good day, sir.
It's one of
So-
those things, like in the situations I've been in with it too, where I'm still trying to figure out, if it's a good deal or not at the time. Well, if you play it on curve, like that's all your ink. So I know most of the time you're not doing anything else. You just gave a great example though. You draw that Zeus, your 4 cost or strength, even another card that I hate, seeing in the Ruby or in the Amethyst Steel matchup, because you already have an established board. Like I'm risking giving you the removal that somebody else can sing, but at the same time, like, well, if they take 2 cards, they, the chances are out of those 8 cards that you're running, or I guess 6 for you, like, are they really going to pull that? They're not going to play anything else this turn. Maybe I don't want to expedite their trip to getting the answers, but maybe I risk it at the same time. There's so many times where I'm balancing out, like, I don't know, in the late game, it doesn't matter so much because the board, like from the examples that I've had,
Depends.
like I'm keeping my 3 cost Simba or my 3 lore Simba out there. If I've got this far and he's out there, like I'm not letting you bottom it at the, I'm going to do the Simba shenanigans, but also very niche example,
You
it's
give him
not,
more cards though.
Yeah.
Wider board,
I am,
which is
yeah,
hard for
so-
almost every deck to deal with. So
Yeah. But yeah, I've been in situations where I'm like, I don't know what the right thing to do is here, but like, especially on curve, like maybe just take the 2 cards. I need to keep setting up here to continue my game plan for the end of the game, but it's a tough choice. And it, like, the thing that stood out to most to me last week at Bodax was like after game 2, I mentioned it in the meta report this week, was that like, I heard you just say, God, this card is so fun. And I haven't heard anybody say that about like just a specific card in a long time, or at least the way in which you did, that really made it stand out as something that was just exciting and why we're talking about it tonight.
I think the funny thing about this card is, my take at least, like superficially, is that you, except in very like specific circumstances, you should almost always say no to the card draw, because like cards win you.
Yeah,
we've always talked about this, that
yeah,
more cards typically is always better. It's not always.
right.
I will put it like an asterisk on this. But I think, because there's times like last week when I played Jimmy and he was playing RA, like I had this wide board going. I mean, I ultimately won that match, but like I was just so confident to be like, no, you can't. Like he was going to use it to remove a genie I had. And my answer at that point in the game should have been no. Like, yeah, like I will just take these, like you can't have the cards. I'm going to take this genie and I'm going to put it on the bottom of my deck, because he drew 2 cards. I don't remember. One of them was a dock and was able to draw 2 more cards and
Keep
stuff.
going.
And so, it's just like, man, like that was a mistake, because like I had the board presence. He wasn't going to be able to deal with my board. Like granted, I don't know, like, was it that top card that was the dock, or was it the second card that was the dock? I have no idea. But I just, I'm always, I think, cautious about the idea of letting my opponent draw cards.
Well, that's the fun part about it though too, because when it gets played on you, I think as a general rule, if they have little to no cards, don't let them draw cards, because that keeping your opponent top decking is such a valuable thing to, like, if you're in control, like, in that way. When we're talking about 3 to 5 cards though, like if they have 3 cards and they play that and they're going to draw up to 5, unless there are specific outs that that they are looking for and that you don't want to give them that chance for, or something like that. A lot of times, if I'm the one that's being the aggressor and I'm in the lead here, I just say fine, have 2 more cards. What is 2 more cards going to do? You have an insurmountable amount of pressure that is building up here. And like you said,
Right.
5 cost. A lot of these decks aren't inking past 6, 7, 8. I mean, like you play a Hades, a lot of times they don't have the availability to like do a lot with those extra 2 cards. It is a really fun game. You're right, Vince. You probably don't want to give them the 2 cards, but other times, I think there's more times than you might think where you're like,
I think you're right
I'll
that there
keep my
are
card.
situations more so that you would want. I'm just saying, as a general rule, I think like more cards equals. I'm obviously like this would be a fun thing to collect data on, right? Which is like, does more cards actually translate like into more game wins? Like if you've drawn more cards throughout the totality of the game, do you win more games? Because I think we've long just said on this podcast that generally speaking, like card draw is good. This is why we really like the whole bounce package, and we talked up Rabbit being like one of the best cards in the game for
Still
a long time.
Still is.
Well, in Infinity, yes, it still exists.
It's the best card in Core Constructed too.
But
talking about
this just ability to like draw cards has always been like a strong feature, and so now you're trading this like do to remove to draw, and like I'll tell you what, when I was playing Ryan's Clarabelle deck and stuff, this card, like I inked it. I was like, I did not need more cards. Let me just say that. I would have played it if I needed more cards.
Deck, but yeah.
So like if I needed cards, this would have been a great card to have. Because he's always going to give me cards because he gets those cards.
Yep.
As well. So, but it's really, this card kind of sucks to play when what you really want is a removal tool. Like if what you want is a removal tool, this card can kind of suck. Because you're right, players can just be like, yeah, go ahead and draw cards, and you're also right on the sense that like you don't have enough ink to play all those cards, so you just get stuck with a handful of cards.
You can't rely on Hades to be removal or card draw, but it is nice to be able to get either in most given situations. The other really interesting thing that I'm not even that great at yet, but I think Hades can give you a ton of information on what your opponent has in their hand and what the plan they have for the next few turns is, by choosing something with a Hades, and then they think, if you also thought through the thought process of, okay, if I point this Hades at their genie and say, I draw 2 or that genie goes, and they say, no, I need the genie. Well, what could that genie be used for? An Elsa plus genie the next turn to take out yours. A singing a Thunderbolt with that genie. Yeah. A Dumbo in hand. There are certain things that you can think, why would someone be willing to give me 2 cards in order to keep this card? They must have big plans in August for this card, aka the next couple of turns. So it's such a game of like poker where you're just like, what do you got? And that's why when people do it to me, I love it as well, because I try and like have that decision ready. Like all of my characters, I know right away whether they're Hadesable or not, or they play the Hades and I go, cards in hand, boom, just bottom it. Nope, you said 1, bottom, done. Like make a quick, swift decision. Don't let them get no information from you. And the other reason why this Hades is so amazing is because it further pushes and proves that Hades is the next big bad in Disney Lorcana. I know, but Andy, this is a line from the movie. He says this in the movie, and August isn't when no. It is. It lines up. It works. Trust me. they picked this line on this Hades. There's a Hades in every color. There's multiple Hades. We've had so many Hades. They picked this one on purpose with this flavor text. Hades next big bad. You heard it here first. Rules of villainy know our villains. All right. That's all I'm saying.
August would line up for when we're scheduled to get the next big bad. So
it's their set. It's his set. It's Hades' set. I'm telling you.
All right. Should we do a well, I guess maybe like what was it? Like the fall of the Underworld? No, the rise of the Underworld. Something Underworld, I feel like.
Yeah.
Fall of Olympus.
Oh. Ooh.
Double entendre.
Right.
For sure, yeah.
I kind of like it. Well, shall we do a artist showcase?
We should, yeah. Javi Salas has 14 cards in the game. There are 2 of them are reprints. It's the Cinderella and Ariel in the Fabled set. But he's got 4 Enchanties in the game as well. Andy's got them up and ready. Snow White from Rise of the Floodborn, the Maleficent from Into the Inklands.
That was the only one I had. Sorry.
Oh, that's what he has set up. A Gadget from Azurite Sea and Tremaine from Whispers, which is one that I did pull at our pre-release at Bodax.
And Brad shows it on the camera right now. Oh,
it would take too much time to get.
I just
to
put all mine back in the binder, so
yeah,
I didn't
save it. I've been sleeving like crazy. I have almost everything put away. But some other notable cards: the Wreck-It Ralph Dual Ink was a lot of fun when I was doing some racers. The Grand Duke and. But yeah, and then moving on to the iconic, we didn't even mention that this card was chosen for an iconic this set. That was illustrated by
he is iconic.
He is an iconic character. That card was illustrated by Marcel Berg, who has 12 cards in the game. 5 of them are reprints. One of them is the promo Aladdin, the blue steel Aladdin, I believe. I don't have his stuff in front of me, but then the Hook Forceful Duelist, who has been just a staple of the game since set 1. I think I talked about it last week. He's got the no enchanted. He's got the Surfer Stitch, which is a very, very fun card. But yeah, we're talking about him because of this gorgeous, iconic Hades that at least one of our teammates has pulled. Ryan pulled on a car packy on the way home from somewhere that day.
He pulled over. I'm told he pulled over.
He did pull over. He pulled over.
I think it was in a trove.
It might have been. It was after trading card
Iconics
market
in troves are
no. He got it. I
no.
think he got it from the oh my god, the collector store. Thank you.
Collector store. Yep. Nice. Supersonic Warrior, Ariel, the Tyrant, Ruthless Tyrant Hades that has been popping up in Ruby Amethyst for the last couple sets. I know Andy's been running that. Steven's been running that. But yeah, fun cards all around. I hope they pull an iconic one day. I know at least a lot of people around us except me.
Is that shelf behind you, Brad, where you'd put your iconic? If you had one.
I had one. One of these days.
Yeah.
But that's it. I'll have a link to their showcase and everything in the description below.
Thank you so much. Well, let us know your thoughts on this week's Villain of the Week. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you're joining us on audio, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
And if you're joining us on YouTube, which if you're not, you really should. We have a lot of fun over here. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe if you aren't. And ring that bell to be notified of all of our other amazing content, including Deck Test Tuesday, the weekly meta report with the mayor, and now on YouTube, Vince not pulling Enchanteds day after day.
Love it.
Yet. It will happen one of these
He's
days.
Going to get an iconic on those shorts, and you're going to see it here
the
on our
more
YouTube.
likes that you give his videos, the more likely he is to pull Enchanted. That's how it works. I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
I like
That's
it.
what they told us in the terms and service. So we understand your time is valuable, so we appreciate you spending a little bit of it with us. If you would like to follow along as we plot our devious plans, consider following us on the socials. We're on Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, and the platform formerly known as Twitter at Rules of Villainy. And we also have a growing community on Discord, which you can join with the link below.
Until next week, stay safe, fellow villains. Be wary of wannabe heroes who want to disrupt your villainous plan. And as always, remember the rules of villainy.